This show is intended for an adult audience. It may contain explicit language or mature themes. Please note that our guest, Luke, may seem startled or under duress, but rest assured we have agreed to release his family after the show if he complies.
Hey, hey. Oh, that sounds like a juddery round of applause, doesn't it? I'll tell you what, we're gonna have to get new mice for all the technology in this thing.
We're gonna have to get a new studio audience.
I think so. I think they're all robotic and they've all got a fault on them this evening. I'm not really sure what's going on.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like live to show your inadequacies and your problems, is there? So
Absolutely.
Anyway, hello everyone. I see you all there in the chat. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful evening. I'm Nick APD. To the side of me is Monkeyboy. And tonight we are going to be talking about all things Rik Mayall. However, before we get into that, shall we say hello to the people in the comments section, Monkeyboy?
Yeah, let's say hello to them. Yeah, go on. Why not?
Right, let's start at the top and work our way down, shall we? So first of all, we have Mr. Tim Hayes. Hello, sir. Good to see you.
Tim.
Thank you for popping along.
Hey, man.
Some weirdo called Monkeyboys Toys.
Don't know him.
We have Vader's girl.
Hey,
Kat.
hello, Kat.
Lovely to see you this evening.
Good
we have
evening,
Jojo.
madam.
Hello, Jojo.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. We have K-Dog Broadcasting. Thank you. Hello. Good evening. I hope you are well. We have the one, the only, Kim Gonick. Hello, Kim.
Hello,
Special
Kim.
Thanks to Kim this evening for sorting out a load of technical stuff in the background for us. It's always appreciated.
Just a quick apology. I didn't say hello to K-Dog. I was swatting a moth when you read K-Dog's name out. Sorry, I was destroying a moth. Hello, K-Dog. Sorry, man.
Well, that's
reading
fine,
movies.
but
Hello,
reading
Lewis.
Movies. Hello, Lewis. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
He says, let's do it. Woo!
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Excellent. Very apt for this evening. I'm not sure if I already said hello to Retro Toy Guy Si because of the confusion, but hey,
hello,
Retro
Si.
Toy Guy Si. Hello,
hey, man.
Hello
thanks,
there.
Thanks for joining us, man. I know it's late where you are, so thanks for joining us, buddy.
We have the one, the only Emma C. Hello, Emma. How are you? I hope you are well. Who else have we got? As you know, the comments, they do that on here. They just jump. They just jump around, don't they? Oh, dear.
Emma, your Skeletor merch pack will be on the way in a couple of weeks. I'm just awaiting another item to arrive, and then I'll get your pack off to you.
Emma gets away on a technicality this evening of not having my special friend Emma card brought up, because if I go to bring it up now, I'll lose the comments again. So you get away with it this one time, Emma. This one time. You got away with it last time because in the last show, as we said, Emma was married in a secret ceremony.
Yep.
We congratulated her then.
Yes.
We have Gerard O'Connor. Hello, sir.
Oh,
Good
Gerard.
to see you.
Good evening, man. Thanks for coming along.
Always good to see you. We have GeForce Racing 20. Sup, G?
GeForce. All right, man. How's it going, dude?
Excellent CG in the house. We have one of our previous victims, should I say guests, Vintage Toy Rush. Dave.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Dave. How are you, mate?
Hey, man.
Thank you for popping along this evening. And I think that's where we're at for the moment. But as other people come in, I will say hello. And if I've missed anyone, here we go. We've got someone else. We have my autistic girlfriend. Hey. I say hey. Hey. And we also have Alan Dawson. Evening all, watching from the cab. So probably unable to take part in the chat. But we know you're here, Alan, and that's the main thing. So,
cheers for coming along, Alan. Thanks, man.
Excellent to have you along.
Right, are we at the bottom of the list now?
I think we're at the bottom, and if I've missed anyone, it's not intentional, but just say oi, say hello to me, and I'll bring you up and whatnot. But you know,
well, that's that done.
That's that done.
Cool.
Oh,
right.
Emma.
Thanks,
no,
everyone.
we got something important. It's Emma C says that's my sister at my autistic girlfriend. Hello, Emma sister. I know who that
Emma's
is
sister.
now.
Okay.
Hello. Good to see you in the chat.
So So Nick, have we got a special guest this week?
We have got a special guest this week. We absolutely have.
Is it the agent most suited to this mission?
It is the agent most suited to this mission.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I think you know more about this agent. I see what you're doing here, and I see where you're going, but you know more about Mask than I do. I see what you're trying to do, and I'm stood there going, I don't really know what to say now because I'm not I didn't watch Mask. You've caught me off guard.
No, but I mean, considering that our mission this evening is Rik Mayall, I believe we have chosen the agent most suited to this mission, or the computer has selected the agent most suitable.
Wow. Well, do you think we should bring that person in?
Yeah, tell us who it is, Nick.
Well, this person, they're a staple of the community. They've been around for a few years. I can see him in the background, sort of giving an approving nod. He's probably the loveliest guy I know. Next to I don't know. I'm running out of things to say here, but it's bloody Luke Reynolds, isn't it? Give it up for Luke. Hello,
hey,
Luke.
It's Luke Reynolds.
I'd just like to say, everybody, I'm going to comply. I'm going to comply. I realise there's a lot riding on tonight. How are you doing, boys?
Thanks for joining us, man. It's good to see you, bud.
Yeah, pleasure, absolute pleasure. And what an intro! What an intro! Wow.
We did our best. I think Gerard O'Connor did it best. See, Gerard O'Connor said, "Cue the march." That's what we should have done.
You see, I saw someone in the chat put minge, and I was like, "Oh, that's not very kind." And then I realised.
Show us your t-shirt. Luke. Show us your t-shirt before we go any further. Nice.
Oh, how very appropriate.
Straight from Bambi. Yeah. I thought I've got to wear something appropriate. So.
Well, we'll be talking about the Bambi episode a bit later, but yeah, excellent, good choice.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, no, really happy to be on, guys. Thank you for asking me.
Oh no, mate. I mean, we didn't
more than welcome.
Didn't really give you much choice, to be fair. You were sort of pressured into.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's okay. That's okay in the nicest possible way. Although someone did say I was going to be first, and I've ended up something like 7th, but whatever.
Oh, I knew this was going to come up. Right.
I told you we were going to have problems with that, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely knew it. Right. Well, before we get into these problems, because I think we need to hash this out here and now for the audience. However, we have had a few more arrivals. We have been joined by the fantastic Manga Fandanga. Sai. Hello, Sai. Good to see you.
Hello,
Thank you for popping along.
Thanks,
We've
man.
also been joined by Mrs. S. Well, that would be Vic. Those green uns will make you badly. Vic Squires. They will. There we go.
Hello, Vic. How you doing?
We've also got Pete the Collector.
Pete the Collector. Hey, Pete.
Pete the Collector. Please tell me you phoned my mum this evening about fitting her lights at her house. I've been getting it in the neck all week about you not phoning her. Get on the phone and sort it out.
Sort it out, Pete.
And
hello, Pete.
We've
Thanks,
also
man.
got Delvian.
Delvian.
Seek
my
and
goodness.
destroy. Seek and
indeed.
destroy.
And Rolando Flores saying hello to absolutely everybody in the chat. So we've had a few.
Hello, Rolando.
Hey, Rolando.
Hey, man.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And Vic just says, oh my God, them green uns. Right, okay, so there's obviously a bit of an elephant in the room here. Going back to what you said, Luke.
All right.
Okay, so I might have said to Luke, when this show was in concept stage, Monkeyboy.
Can I just jump in straight away? The might of is definitely did. Carry on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know this.
Okay.
I'm with Luke on this one.
Yeah. I got a bit excited one day, and I said to Luke, I'm going to get you on as we're starting this new show. It originally had a different name, and we'll save that for another day. However, I said to Luke, you're going to be our first guest. I said it. Look, I said it. And then I went and I booked in VTR Dave as our first guest.
You cheated on Luke. Cheated on Luke straight away.
I brought in Scuba Pete.
Yeah.
So basically, I did a number on you. I apologise. It's probably not the most sincere apologies, but I did.
Well, it should be.
what I meant to say is it doesn't come across as sincere, but secretly, I feel bad. I'm probably going to send you some out of date chocolate.
All is forgiven. That's it. That's all I needed. That's all I needed was guilt gifts. That's all I needed. Thank you, Nick.
Guilt gifts. Guilt gifts, absolutely.
That's it. Mission accomplished.
VTR Dave, have you fired that green duck thing yet? No, not yet. Not yet. So someone needs to fire that green duck thing, that's for sure. And G4 says, geez, friends
G-Force.
like that. Yeah, I suck as a
right?
friend at times.
He's not so bad, really. He's not so bad. Yeah.
Except for when I phone people during extra time and penalties in the football match because I think the football's over.
Yeah.
You did.
Rang me in the middle of extra time. What the hell?
No.
I did.
Although
I
I did answer it.
The football
Didn't have
would be
to.
over.
Did I? No.
Anyway,
The thing is, if only you had a way of finding out, Nick. Just get your TV remote and just do that.
I could do that. And my autistic girlfriend says, I'd like a guilt gift.
Yeah.
Okay, I can arrange something, I'm sure. Last time I sent gifts out to Luke, I think I sent Luke a Star Wars thing, and I chucked some I went into my cupboard because I thought we can't leave Rachel out. I just grabbed some chocolate we had and I chucked it in the box, but I didn't realise that this chocolate had passed its best before date. So then I got a message saying, you've sent our Rach out of date chocolate. I'm like, oh no. So I was like, I feel so bad. So I was like, all right, I'm going to send her a chocolate hamper. And he's like, don't do that. Don't do that. I was like, no. I found a chocolate hamper and he wouldn't let me do it. So that is why Rachel never got that packet. But I've got to say, there's a Joe Reynolds in the
there
chat.
You go.
I think that might be your better looking twin brother.
It is indeed. Yeah, it is indeed.
Hello, Joe. Thanks for coming along, man.
Yeah, cheers for popping along, man. Anyway, we've done a lot of waffle here, and it's probably, although I said right at the start of the show, right at the outset, what it was about. Monkeyboy, do you want to give us just a better rundown than I could possibly do? Because you are the intelligent one of the duo.
Well, I'll just give a quick rundown of what we're going to be talking about, and then we can get straight into the questions that I've prepared. Here are my prepared questions.
There's a quiz.
So this evening we are going to be talking about the life and career, and of course, ultimately the death of Rik Mayall. Now, I'm aware that for a large part of Rik's career, he was a double act with Adrian Edmondson, and of course, lots of other prominent members of the UK comedy scene, such as French and Saunders, Alexei Sale, Ben Elton, and such. But this evening is really sort of focusing on Rik Mayall, the man, the genius, the legend that is. So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. And I thought I'd kick things off with a question to both of you, to Luke and Nick, which is, what was your first introduction to Rik Mayall, and did you immediately seek out more of his work? Luke, tell us how you first came across this wonderful gentleman.
Yeah, well, my first introduction to Rik Mayall really was far younger than what it should have been. So I was watching me and my brother were watching The Young Ones when we were, I mean, God, we must have been sort of easily 6, 7, 8 years old when we started watching The Young Ones, and I've no idea how our parents allowed it, but they did. I mean, and my dad loved the show, so I think it was just a case of the lads can watch it with us. And that was my first introduction to Rik Mayall, watching The Young Ones back in the 80s. And ever since then, we loved the character. Again, I mean, my brother is obsessed with him as I am, and we just loved the character that he portrayed in The Young Ones. I mean, we loved the show itself, but Rik specifically, especially as we got older. I think because as kids, I think we gravitated to people like Vivian because he was violent and he was aggressive and he swore and but as we got older, we realised just how genius Rik Mayall was and his portrayal of Rik in the show and then in later shows and things like that. And ever since then, Rik Mayall as a character, as a personality, and some of the shows, specifically 2 shows and one particular movie, kind of shaped my childhood, really. You know, grew up with him constantly, grew up through the 80s, then through the 90s. And then to this day, me and my brother, we quote lines from his movies, or, well, one particular movie, Young Ones, Bottom as well. And it's just, I don't know why, but this particular guy has just become this kind of thing to us. I don't know what it is. I mean, when we lose celebrities, and this, I don't mean this in the kind of way it may sound, but it often means very little to me. You know, we lose celebrities, it's very sad, but you carry on. Yeah. I don't think I've ever felt like I was losing someone from my own family when I found out Rik Mayall had passed, and it was a real thing when I found out. I was like, gee, what? You know, almost like that can't be right. You know, I mean, I think, what was he, 56?
He was. Yeah.
So yeah, this guy, just a massive part of my childhood and growing up. But the young ones was when when I first found him, and I must have been 6 or 7 years old. Clearly shouldn't have been watching it, but yeah.
Nick, what about you? When did you first come across Rik Mayall, and can you hear this fart?
I heard that fart. Right,
Rick would have approved of that. I did that in
Rick absolutely
in honor
would
of
have
Rick.
approved of that fart.
I tell you, you couldn't have hammered a pin up my arse at that point.
The only thing that was missing was flames there, Dave.
Like the second
anyway,
amazing.
Nick, tell us where you first came across Rik Mayall.
So I was a little bit of a late adopter to Rik Mayall. So I had a part-time job in a fish and chip shop local to us, and there was an older lad working there called Pete. Sorry if I stumble or sound a bit spitty tonight, just so I've had a load of dental work done this week, so I know you're used to me dribbling everyone.
I've just got to say, have you farted?
It could be my breath. Anyway, so anyway, Pete always used to, we'd make cups of tea to drink, and they'd go cold, and he'd always say, like, drink your tea, Mr. Gasman, before it gets warm. And I had no idea what he was on about, right? So anyway, I started hanging out with Pete, who was like a sort of naughty older brother influence, because he was like 20 and I was like, I don't know, 15. And anyway, one night, got pissed up round his house, stayed over, and he's like, he puts Bottom on, because he's got the tapes of it, VHS days, and he puts on the Gasman episode. And I was just in absolute fits of laughter. And that was it. I was sold there and then. And I think we watched the best part of two series of it, like before I passed out, like from being quite drunk. Yeah. And it was, I'm not saying this to take the piss, but I am a bit younger than you guys, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I am. There's a few years in it. And so I came to it late, but my God. And then, you know, it clicked on me. I'd actually seen Drop Dead Fred as a kid, which I absolutely loved, but I didn't really connect the dots because it was a childhood film that I loved. Right. And I have to say that there are so many comments in the comment section at the moment.
Who's the snot flicking?
The mega bitch, you know, for one, and Emma with cobwebs, you know, and that's all from Drop Dead Fred. So then I connected the dots because, you know, as much as I loved that film as a kid and my parents really didn't appreciate me quoting it whenever I could, I was a bit younger. And then, so I've seen Bottom at this point. Pete's like, oh, you must watch The Young Ones. And he had The Young Ones as well. And The Young Ones is then responsible for one of the biggest loves of my life musically, which
I'll ask you about that a bit later. Yeah,
we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, that's when I discovered it, and of course, you know, Guest House Paradiso came out, and then I found the Bottom live shows. Then I met my missus, who's obsessed with Bottom and The Young Ones, and she had them all on DVD because her dad loved them, and it just goes from there, you know. So that's how I came to it. I just want to say as well, before I go any further, because I don't want to ignore people. A few more people have joined us. The comments have jumped down. I can't find them. There we go. So we've been joined by the toy wizard himself, Toy Polite. Hello, Toy Polite.
Hey, man.
Thank you for joining us this evening. We've
Oh,
also
Mr.
been
Jolly lived
joined.
next door. Yeah, that was a quality comic strip episode. Yeah, brilliant.
I'm not
Sorry,
massively familiar with comic strip. Yeah.
I really must learn to read the comments rather than just say. I'm really bad for that. I'll hold my hands up to that. Like, tell me to slow down and read them in future, guys. And we've also been joined by Salacious Rum.
Ah, hello, Salacious.
Which is awesome to see you, sir. So yeah, we've had a couple more arrivals that I've spotted throughout. Well, there was an earlier comment from Salacious, which he said, this looks like a special needs version of hairstyle posters on a wall in my local barber's where you can pick the style you want.
Yeah. And then he refers to me as Jesus again, which is fine. I'm happy with that. But I've had a shave today. I'm less Jesus-y than I was this morning.
You look very Neil, if I'm honest, Dave.
Oh my God, he does. But we've also
Brilliant.
been joined by TJC as well, who did a fantastic...
TJC.
It's his 1 year anniversary on YouTube today, and he did a fantastic stream earlier. Thanks for having me on, Terry. And it was an open fit. It was brilliant. No, really good stream. I enjoyed that, mate. So happy YouTube birthday, I guess, sir.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, to throw back over to you, Dave. Now I've just interrupted everything and done my usual thing of putting you off course.
No problem. So I think I was possibly the latest adopter to Rik Mayall out of the panel tonight. I guess I was peripherally aware of the young ones when it came out, but I guess because it was shown quite late at night, I was always off to bed at that point, so I never really saw the young ones. I'd seen a couple of bits of it on the TV. The one bit I remember was Neil sitting in an absolutely filthy bath. I remember that sort of scene, but I didn't really know what the young ones was. So I wasn't really exposed to Rik Mayall until Bottom came out. And I saw that when it was first aired on TV, and I'd seen, I guess, a couple of trailers for it or whatever on the TV. And I saw the first episode, and within about 5 minutes, I was a complete Rik Mayall fan. Like instantly, it was such an instant. Just the faces he was pulling, the maniacal energy that he had, really did grab me by the balls. And I thought, wow, who is this guy? This is amazing. And I just became very, very quickly obsessed with Rik Mayall. I would scour the newspapers and the TV magazines for pictures of him. I would cut them out. I would stick them on my wall. I had framed pictures of him on the wall. I mean, wow. I had such a man crush on him in a way. I just thought it was so good. And I'd never been a real big fan of slapstick comedy up until that point, you know, Laurel and Hardy, Three Stooges, that sort of thing. I mean, I would chuckle a bit, but it never really got me. But Rik Mayall's energy and the way he carried himself through those shows, it was just no going back for me from then. And for the next however many years up until his passing, really, I was just a huge fan of his. So that's where I first sort of got on the ride was Bottom.
Yeah, that's cool. Can I just jump back to something you said though there at the beginning of that, Dave? Now, what you mentioned about you can't remember, or I can't remember either, to be honest. What time the young ones aired? But I'm not sure it'd be quite as late as maybe what you remember, because I read something the other day which I thought was really interesting. Now, do you recall that every episode used to have a band, and they used to play a song in every episode?
Yeah. I was going to discuss that in a bit, but yeah, go on.
Sorry, I don't want to jump in and
no, you're okay.
Going forward.
No, you're okay. Go for it.
Do you know the reason why they did that? Because
it
was something
that
oh dear, okay. So yeah, growing up, I was like, why have they got just random songs in there? And apparently,
you tell us about it.
Well, to my knowledge, they put a song in there because if they put a song in there, the BBC then to class it as light entertainment rather than situational comedy, which meant they can put it on earlier. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
and
okay. Sorry,
because at the no, that's fine. At the time, the BBC weren't giving giving a lot of money. They weren't giving a lot of funding for comedy shows, and they were putting more money into light entertainment and variety shows. So the writers of the show, that was purely the only reason why they had live music on the show, was so that they could get the funding, they could push it more, and it would be pushed out at a better time slot. So you're quite right. That's the only reason they did. We'll touch on the.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
No, go on. We'll touch on the music a bit later, because I want to ask Nick about that in particular. But no, you're absolutely
just
right.
going to extend onto it, but I don't want to spoil topics for the
line. No,
sorry.
go for it.
Luke, I'm going to stop you there. Luke, you apologise too much, man. Don't worry. Come in with whatever you want to say, man. It's not a problem. The thing is, we've got notes. You don't know what notes we got, so
no. Well,
you are the guest, and sir, you lead the conversation. So
I was just going to add that I also thought it's quite interesting to read why Madness was the only band that were on there twice. So Madness were the only band to feature with 2 songs in both seasons, and apparently that was because the BBC at that point were trying to push the Madness because they planned to give them their own show. So a bit like the Monkeys or whatever they had. So they were planning on giving Madness their own show, which is why they featured them twice. And apparently, I mean, it just didn't happen, but that's why they were trying to push Madness as a band, because they planned to do their own show with them. But
because of course they were the only band that appeared twice on and let's not forget there were only 12 episodes of the Young Ones.
Yeah, it's easy to forget. Yeah. So
to feature twice in 12 episodes, that was quite a distinction for Madness, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah. So Nick, do you think we should maybe just backtrack a little bit and go to the first slide, so we can start off talking about Rik's early career with Adrian Edmondson? It wasn't the first thing that Rik had done, but in terms of sort of the television and being sort of broadcast, the Dangerous Brothers was one of the first times that British audiences would have been able to see Rik and Ade working together, and it would be the start of a very long career of the double act of Rik and Ade, and of course the start of many characters that were called Rik and Ade or a derivative thereof, such as Eddie. Now, what did you say that the characters were called? Was it Richard Dangerous and Sir Adrian Dangerous? Is that what you said, Nick?
And so, I believe it, and Sir Adrian Dangerous. So they didn't a trend that sort of stuck with them. They didn't deviate too far from their actual names.
No.
So
the Dangerous Brothers, I think, was they kind of influenced themselves, because the Dangerous Brothers was very much slapstick and sort of lots of physical violence. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dangerous Brothers, Luke, if that's something that you've seen.
I've got to be honest, these are 2 characters that I know very little about. Well, in fact, I know nothing about. No, I'm not familiar with these guys.
Well, I mean, if you imagine the violence that Richie and Eddie would inflict upon each other in Bottom, that was basically what the Dangerous Brothers was. They were kind of wannabe stuntmen, chucking each other through brick walls, smashing plates of glass over their heads, electrocuting each other in the testicles, that sort of thing. So it was very much a physical comedy show, and they would basically come on and say, "Hello, we're the Dangerous Brothers, and we're really dangerous," and then they would do terrible things to each other, and that was basically the premise of the show. There wasn't,
something I'd enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't. It wasn't particularly clever in terms of the dialogue. There was no story. There was nothing like that. It was purely coming on stage and saying, "Hello, we're going to do this. This is bloody dangerous," and then they would do, insane things to each other, and that was the basis of the show. And I think that really got them a foothold, and it really did shape their comedy career. I think they didn't really deviate too much from that throughout their whole career. And then shortly after the Dangerous Brothers came out, Rik Mayall did a show called Kevin Turvey Investigates, where he played an investigative reporter from I think he was based in Birmingham. He certainly had a sort of a Birmingham kind of accent. I'm not quite. I don't remember now where it was actually set, but yeah, he would investigate silly things like how many fish are there in the river, and just bizarre things.
Yeah, it's another character that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, this is good.
If you can catch Kevin Turvey episodes on YouTube or somewhere else, if you can find them, they're worth looking at, because it's very. You can see the character of Rik from the young ones. You can see like how that might have developed, because Kevin Turvey was kind of a spotty anti-Thatcher, yeah, Spotty Herbert, yeah. So there were. I think the characters that Rik particularly played tended to dovetail into one another to a certain extent, and you can certainly see the roots of the Rik from the young ones character embodied in Kevin Turvey.
Yeah,
so
right.
That was,
I'll check them out.
That was a great show. It was a great show.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check them out.
And it's worth saying, because when me and Monkeyboy were talking back and forth bits for the show, there are so many characters of Rik's that I wasn't necessarily aware of myself, and it's been quite interesting going back and looking at them. And to what Monkeyboy said there, it is interesting seeing almost the evolution of Rik Mayall and how, Rik Mayall, was he a character? Rik Mayall was always Rik Mayall, however you saw him, whether he was in an interview, whether you saw him on the press, or whether you saw him in character. And it makes me think, how much of his characters was just him? Or was he just...
Yeah.
I mean, he was an absolute genius. There's no disputing Rik was an absolute genius. But, to what level of his genius was it that he was putting into the character? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm waffling a bit here, but I'm trying to say...
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to separate
how much of it was a character and how much
character.
was it of actual him himself, yeah.
Yeah. I just also want to jump in and say here, we've had a couple more people join us, which is fantastic. We've had Smith Lord. Hello, Chris.
Lord.
Join us this evening.
Hey, man.
And I brought this comment up earlier.
Thanks, Chris.
I had a picture of Mr. Baxter from Grange Hill on my wall, and now I'm mates with Luke. And who else will we join? We've also been joined by Pod Racing Palpatine. Hello there.
Hello, PP.
Hello.
Great to see you. Thank you for jumping on. Yeah, Rik's characters. I've watched a lot of stuff about Rik this week. I've been off and I've been watching stuff and trying to untangle the man from the character, if that is possible. It's just, Rik was Rik, know. And I think that's
that sort of leads into the next question that I've got for you guys, which was what was the appeal of Rik's characters? Was it the absurd faces? Was it the physical comedy, the obnoxious personalities, or the maniacal energy? Or was the whole greater than the sum of its parts? What was the appeal of his characters? Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think he's one of the best visual actors. His facial expressions, especially. But I think in the young ones, it was just I mean, I think in the young ones, he's just so obnoxious. I mean, he clearly loves himself, yet the whole group virtually hated him. But I mean, when I think some of the scenes now, but I think it was just a whole package. But I just think it's physical, it's visual. Like I say, there's one fit, and I send it as a meme as often as I can. But there's one, I don't know if you guys will be familiar enough with it and know what I'm talking about. There's an episode of Bottom where the scene opens up and he's ironing, waiting for Eddie to come in.
Yeah.
So Eddie's obviously gone out with I think it's like £1.60 or whatever. There's a small amount of money, and he comes in and he's absolutely hammered drunk. And it pans to Richie, and he's pulling his face, just stood at the ironing board. Yeah. Well, I send that as a meme as often as I can. Just his eyes wide open with this just sort of, and then it's maybe 5 seconds. It's just this sort of. What time do you call this? And I send that look. And now I think the last time I did it, I sent it to Rachel because I had a parcel. I was waiting for a parcel, and I was out at work, and I got this notification to say we couldn't deliver your parcel today, and we've taken it away. You've now got to collect it at the parcel office. And I thought, Rachel's in. I know Rachel's in. How have I missed a parcel when Rachel? So I sent her Richie's face with that look on his face, and I put at the top of it, when you found out you've just missed a parcel, but your missus was at home. And I've just sent her that. I use it as often as I can. And I just think how obnoxious is in young ones, just how, say, the facial expressions, the amount of energy, like you said, Dave, Bottom with the mindless violence. And what I love about Bottom and the dynamic there is how they hate each other yet love each other all at the same time. I mean, Richie and Eddie despise each other, yet you actually do love each other. I just think everything about him appeals to me. His humour, the way he's off camera, like Nick said, you often struggle to determine whether is he playing a role there, or is that just actually who he is anyway? Just pure genius for me.
Nick, what about you? What did you find most appealing about Rik?
To coin, and I say this with all the love in the world for Rik, but to coin a British insult I love, he's just a bellend. I love him. He's just, it's everything you said about. It's the maniacal. It's the crazy. He's mental. I love every mental aspect of him. And going back to Bottom, I mean, because watching Bottom, it is that relationship between him and Eddie, and you watch it, and it's like a dysfunctional marriage. It's just brilliant. And yes, and it's the faces, it's the physical comedy as well, because there's people out there like if you spoke to a lot of people, they go, who's the best person for physical comedy with their face? A lot of people probably say Jim Carrey. I'd challenge that, and I'd say, well, in his day, I think I could probably put that to I think Rik Mayall could stand toe to toe with him in that aspect, because
I think we'd have to put Rowan Atkinson in there as well. I think, especially with how he does Mr. Bean and Blackadder, and
and that's a really fair shout. I mean, the reason I used Jim Carrey as an example is because I think Rik, although he had films like Drop Dead Fred and that, which we will go into later, I do think sometimes he gets overlooked overseas because
100%.
It's a shame because I believe that it's just I sound a bit mad, a bit like I'm in love with him, but I am to a degree. His character, I wish everyone in the world would just watch an episode or two of Bottom, because and it would be interesting to know what people get from him, because even in Bottom as well, the character in Bottom, it's gross out and it's disgusting as well. When you see them in that flat, it's disgusting. There's nothing appealing about the visuals in that flat. It's horrible. It looks dirty. It looks damp. The way they're dressed, you can see that they're social outcasts because they haven't really got any fashion sense, either of them. Not that you have to have fashion sense, but you can see that they just don't. They're just square pegs that are trying to force themselves into round holes. They don't fit, and that's part of the appeal. And that character, there's no way this evening we can't mention Ade Edmondson without Rik. We've already brought up,
of course,
such an important part of the duo. But Rik is absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, you add Ade into the mix, and fire, untouchable, and I think I just love every aspect of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I also
should we move on to the next slide, Nick? And then we'll
just
touch
before
on again.
I do that, I just wanted to say a quick hello to Gerard Kane.
Oh,
hello.
Gerard.
Hello there.
Hey, man.
And I want to plug something that I watched earlier, and I've actually linked in the description of this video. So when the stream's over, please do go and watch this. My autistic girlfriend says, Rik Mayall was such a wonderful character actor, a very handsome man, yet because of his level of talent, many didn't notice he was actually attractive.
Quite possible,
Yeah.
Now, when I watched, there's a documentary I watched this week, and I've linked it. It's called Rik Mayall. Sorry. I'm struggling to talk at the best of times tonight, but Rik Mayall, Lord of Misrule, and it was put out about a year after his death on the BBC. Now, I have linked it in the description of this stream. So after don't all disappear now. Wait to the end of the stream, and then go give it a watch, because one of the I forget the name of the lady who worked with Rik, but she actually said something very similar.
Was it Lisa Mayer?
Yes, it was. Thank you. You've refreshed my brain. So yeah, that's a real good point there from my autistic girlfriend. And anyway, yes. Oh, and a quick hello to Sam's Vintage Repairs. Howdy, sir.
Hey,
pop in there.
Hey, man.
And sorry, Monkey Boy. Was it slide 2 we on now, sir?
Yep. And that'll bring us back onto the young ones, which we spoke about a little bit earlier on. Now, I mean, you could argue that the young ones was again really a vehicle for Rik and Aid. I know Nigel Planer was a very popular character. I'm not sure of anyone that really liked the character of Mike. He seemed to be a bit superfluous, really.
Yeah, I think he was probably the sporty spice of the group, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was very much the straight man, but I think he was there just to balance everything out. Well, I think Mike was there just to balance
sporty spice at first, didn't
he? Yeah, but I mean, you could argue that it was really Rik and Aid's show again. And going back to what you said a little while ago, Nick, about the characters in Bottom living in sort of quite a filthy, sort of dishevelled state. Again, in the young ones, they were living in quite a rundown kind of situation, and I think that sort of came from their own real life experiences of student life. I think it was heavily influenced by that, so they had experienced that sort of thing, in real life. And the show itself was a very, as we were talking about earlier on today, Nick, and you said it was a sort of a very punk rock show. And I think it was the Rik Mayall, Ben Elton, Alexis Sale, French and Saunders. They were all kind of at the vanguard of the sort of the new alternative comedy that came out of the sort of mid '80s. Certainly, Ben Elton and Rik Mayall were heavily heavily influenced by what had come before them, and changed things really in a new direction. And it did become the start of the new wave of British alternative comedy. And it was a very anti-Thatcher type show. There was a lot of anti-establishment sort of themes that were running through it, and it really did kind of shake the business up, to quite an extent. I wish I'd seen it when it was originally out, because I think I would have enjoyed it as a youngster. But as I say, I didn't catch it the first time round, and it was only after I'd watched Bottom that I then went back to the young ones, because I wanted to see more of Rik. And as Luke pointed out earlier on, the young ones did feature a musical act every week because they wanted to get in on the light entertainment budget, and to get a better time slot. And they did feature many bands, Dexy's Midnight Runners, Madness, and of course another very well-known band that maybe Nick would like to talk about, because I believe one of the bands that was featured on the young ones, Nick, was actually a massive influence on your life.
Oh, definitely, and I'll bring up the slide. Motorhead. Anyone who knows me in the real world, seen me play bass, listened to my music, I am mad on Motorhead to the point I've got Motorhead tattoos literally all over me. I've got Lemmy there. I've got Lemmy. I'm mad on Motorhead. But you see, as I was a late adopter to Bottom, going and discovering, the young ones then, which I absolutely loved. I mean, what wasn't there to love about the young ones? I mean, they even had things like singing fruit and veg and talking fruit and veg in the show. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But because of these musical acts, they had Motorhead on there. Now I was aware of the Ace of Spades. Everyone's heard the Ace of Spades. God, everyone's heard the Ace of Spades. And granted, that's the song they played on here. But seeing this episode of the young ones and just look at Lemmy there. I mean, Lemmy's no longer with us either, but look at Lemmy. Everything about that, he's just an absolute rock god, Lemmy. And when he died, music lost a true legend. Like comedy lost a legend when Rik died, music lost a legend when Lemmy went on. But seeing just that whole persona, and I was a bit younger at the time, and I don't know, I was a bit sort of more, I don't know, some people would say gothy looking, metally looking. And I was just learning to play bass. And of course I saw this, how cool is this guy? So then I went out and I bought like a Motorhead compilation CD, listened to that. And then I was looking through Kerrang magazine, because, you had to have Kerrang. And I saw that they were playing at Southampton Guildhall. Immediately phoned up Pete the Collector, who was in the audience earlier, and another friend, Dave, booked tickets, went and saw him. That was it. And there's just been this obsession ever since. I mean, and you think what triggered me to buy that CD, which got me to buy those gig tickets, was the scene from this show. So
it's crazy to think that because they wanted to get in on the light entertainment budget and they wanted to push the show to a wider audience, that was the only reason they had these bands on. And look what an impact that's had on your life, Nick. If it wasn't for the BBC's poor budgeting strategy, you might not have been where you are today, Nick.
No, and even deciding to, I mean, I joined metal bands after that. I did various music. I had my own punk band, which was sort of like, I say punk band, it was sort of a punk and a mixture of Motorhead. I mean, I eventually ended up playing in a covers band, but so be it. I enjoyed that as well. But yeah, you're right. I'm influenced to go and buy a CD from a scene. That's something the BBC did years ago with Rik Mayall, and it has had a big impact on my life. I mean, we signed our wedding. My Carla walked down the aisle to Billy Idol White Wedding, and we signed the register to. Well, Carla wanted Motorhead's cover of Louie Louie because that was apparently playing in the background when I proposed to her, which I don't remember that song because I was quite drunk because I had to pluck up the courage to propose. And then that song finished, and while we were finishing the signing, Killed by Death, another Motorhead song was on, So even on our wedding album, we've got like a printed book. All the text, Nick and Carla, and the date of our weddings, all done in the same font as the Motorhead text.
Nice.
Because
it was
cool.
Me and Carla. I guess me and Carla, what we would call alternative types. So.
Well,
yeah,
I know,
impact,
Nick,
but
I know, Nick, that it did. Sorry to interrupt. Go on. You go on.
No, you're fine, man. You're fine. Carry on.
Okay. Well, I know it had a big impact on your life because of that musical appearance by Motorhead. But let's put that to one side for the second, and let me just ask you guys if you think that the musical, the live music on the young ones, do you think it detracted from the episodes? Would you have liked to have seen the episodes without that? Did you find it took you out of the episode a bit, or do you think that they handled it well?
I wouldn't change a thing personally.
No, I wouldn't. As a kid, I probably didn't like it. As a whatever I was when I was watching it, 6, 7 years old, I probably didn't like it. Now, it kind of feels like that. It's part of Young Ones. That's what it is. You've got a musical number in every episode, and most of them, I've got to be honest, I really like the songs as well. So Motorhead, obviously, you're gonna like that. You had Dex's Midnight Runners in there. You had a few. As my brother put in the
9 Below
earlier,
Zero,
you had
Madness, Dexys.
radical posture, with Alexi
Damned.
Sale with the Doc Martin boots. As a kid, I probably didn't like it. As an adult, as far as I'm concerned, it's part of the show. And I think it would be weird to watch one and not have it in now. So no, personally, I don't think it. It probably did bother me as a kid, but no, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
What I'd probably say to expand on what Luke just said is obviously I came to it a bit later, so not as a kid. The only parallel I could probably draw to that is I used to sneak and watch Beavis and Butthead as a kid. And when I was a kid, when they used to play the music videos in Beavis and Butthead, it used to really annoy me because I just want to watch the cartoon and the hijinks. But watching them back now I'm older, I actually love the music videos, and it really shows the age of the episodes and stuff, and you get the feel of the time that it was made. So I can absolutely see why for kids perhaps it was a bit like, oh, what's this? But for the audience, it was probably primarily aimed at mid-teens to young adult. I suspect that it was probably quite well received. I mean, they did it for the entire 12 episodes, so I imagine that it did prove popular at the time.
And speaking of the 12 episodes, have you got some comments to bring up?
Sorry, I have. Sorry, I just wanted to say a quick hello to Andrew Coppard.
Hey, Andrew.
Hello, Andrew.
Thank you for coming along. And a comment that VTR put, it just makes me laugh. All good music except for Dexys. Really?
Oh, Rich
What's
loves
wrong with
Dexys.
Dexys?
I thought that was a good song as well. It was quite nice to hear him do something that wasn't Come On Eileen, I've got to be honest.
And that song's just, let's not go into that. Yeah, so anyway, Monkeyboy, back to you, sir. I destroyed your flow.
Now, do you think 12 episodes was a good amount? Do you think they were wise to sort of to make an exit after the 12, or do you think it could have survived another series or two?
Do you want to go first, Nick, or shall I?
I don't mind going first on that.
You go, man.
Looking at it now, I don't think it was a bad thing, because we live in a culture where people want more of everything, and a lot of things I loved growing up, now there seems to be an infinite supply of it, and it keeps going on, and more isn't necessarily better. So I think it's good that they did the final episode with the bus going off the cliff, killing all the students. Spoiler alert, everyone, but it's been out for years. I think it's good they ended it where they did. End on top, end on a high, end leaving people wanting more. Don't end leaving people thinking, oh, did they go on a bit too long? That would be my take on it.
Luke, how do you feel?
Yeah, no, I think we're surrounded at times, and it's easy to forget. I think when we think back to these shows, now when I think back to Young Ones, in my head there was loads of them. I don't know why that is. In my head, I just think there was a lot of them but I think it falls into a similar category with Fawlty Towers, with Bottom, the 2 series. And then once, I think it's like anything. Once you start to, we've got a bit of success here, let's do a few more. How many series do we talk about where we go, oh, well, the first 2 seasons were great, but they got a bit rubbish after that. So I always really like the fact that every single episode, I don't think there's a filler episode in the Young Ones. I think drop any of the 12 episodes in front of me, and I'll go, oh yeah, this is a great episode. Oh, this, I won't see one. I go, no, I'm not massively keen on this one. So I think I think they probably stopped when the time was right, and I think the fact that every episode was good, and you never started watching if you were going, oh, this is getting a bit. But I don't know how true this is. Now, weirdly, I don't know if I've got a little bit of a is it Mandela effect? Is that what you call it? But I'm sure I read somewhere, and you guys might be able to tell me now because I know you've done a bit of research. But I don't think it was the reason, but I believe Mary Whitehouse had a hand in the Young Ones finishing. Because apparently she sort of campaigned for the Young Ones to be cancelled because she claimed it was glorifying students not going to college and misusing their college grants and glorifying living like that, and students not going to college and misuse of their money. So I don't know how true it is because I couldn't actually find anything to back it up. But in my head, I'm sure she had a hand in the Young Ones getting cancelled or finishing.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, Mary Whitehouse had a pop at everything, didn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how true that
came
is, but
across
I
that.
think they stopped when they should have. Sorry.
But what's funny is you know, Mary Whitehouse. I mean, she did have a pop at everything back in the day, but if if those guys would have wanted to have carried on, they'd have carried on. You know, they'd have found a way. Comments from people like her sometimes just encourage, because yes, they ended the young ones, but look, they carried on doing other things. You know, so
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Joe's just put a comment there. It's so true. He's just put there. Yeah, I couldn't imagine the University Challenge episode about the Ace of Spades playing while they're charging for the train. Yeah, it's just it wouldn't be the same, would it? Yeah, it's a brilliant. What a brilliant episode that is.
an interesting thing as well, just to dial back a bit on the young ones, was seeing old bits from interviews with Rik Mayall. He said that what was interesting was he had been a student in Manchester, and they did live in shit digs, and it was scummy, and everything they sort of portrayed was what they lived. So that's why they could tell the story as they did. But he said there was also a culture at the time of people who went to Oxford just automatically getting a leg up in anything they did and sort of having a sense of entitlement, whereas they were like, nah, sod that. And again, so they rebelled against that, and it drove them to do what they did, because they were like, well, why should all the rich boys and all the posh boys get everything? And so there was that culture kicking around at the time.
Apparently Alexis Sale really didn't like the Bambi episode, because apparently he felt that obviously it was about students and obviously, you know, living in the sort of conditions they were living in. And apparently Alexis Sale really didn't like the Bambi episode because obviously they used Stephen Fry, they used Emma Thompson, Hugh Laurie, and oh God, what was the other guy who played Bambi? Griff Rhys Jones. So apparently he at the time he classed those people as upper class, as privileged, and he said, I don't like the fact that we're using these actors when these are actually real life people that actually have the lives that we are supposedly sort of saying that we don't like. We don't like people that have you know, upper class people. So apparently Alexis Sale genuinely didn't enjoy that episode because he felt they were using actors that were privileged and upper class, and he felt that wasn't kind of what it was all about.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Did you catch that, Nick?
Yeah. Sorry, just if I'm sounding a bit drooly, a bit dribbly, and a bit like I'm struggling talking, just bear with me. I'm getting through. I had to adjust my face.
Okay.
I had to clean up. I started to dribble. I've got stitches all on the inside of my mouth, and I can feel myself dribbling. So I took off cam and wipe.
If at any point the conversation dries up during the stream, can we just watch you eat soup?
It would be. I started off so well, but the sort of the more it goes on, the more it's like, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, you have recently undergone some quite significant mouth surgery, so that's understandable.
Yeah. No, I know you have.
Thanks for soldiering on
a little bit. Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And I'm really not looking for sympathy. Just but you can probably, if you can hear, I'm conscious because I can hear back through my monitors that you can hear like the spitty sound of my mouth resonating through my mic, so I can only apologize, everyone. I'm doing my best. It's grossing me out hearing it, so hopefully it's not grossing you out watching.
It's all good.
There you go. Anyway,
don't pop any more stitches. Don't pop any stitches.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was fun. But between my dribble and Monkeyboy's farts, we're off to a stormer. Anyway, so there's me destroying the flow yet again.
Are there any more thoughts from yourself, Luke, or indeed Nick, about the young ones, or should we move on to the next show? Anything else to say about young one?
The thing is, I could talk on the young ones all night, just like I could talk on bottom all night. So I think, not that I don't want to talk about them. I think unless Luke's got anything to say, I think we should probably trundle on through.
Yeah, no, no problem at all. Moving on, lads. I'll just quickly add that, obviously Young Ones was just a massive, and I still watch it now. But going on to what you said earlier, Nick, I think one of the unique things about that was just the cutaways. Now, you know, carrots talking to chips on roller skating on a plate, or peas, and the rats when the rats were talking, and Rik batters one with a guitar. And, like, we haven't mentioned SPG, have we? Vivian.
Oh, the old gerbil. Was it a hamster or a gerbil? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember as well. But I just remember thinking as a kid, like, how weird is this yet? I mean, still just so funny. I just love the young ones. I think it was so alternative at times. But yeah, brilliant show.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. Just want to say that Gerard O'Connor saying stay classy, and Pete the Collector, tonight's subject, Nick eating soup.
Yeah, it was a hamster as well, I think, Dave, wasn't it? Because I remember the scene where Rik says, I think Special Patrol Group is a stupid name for a hamster. And he says, all right, I'll change it then. Hello, Cliff Richard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, right. Shall because I've got tons of notes on all of this, but should we where do you want to go next, Monkeyboy? Because you've got the slides.
Let's move on to the next show that came sort of hot on the heels of the Young Ones, and was billed as a bit of a follow up to the Young Ones, although it wasn't. Let's go to the next one.
Excellent.
So here we have Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. Now, I'll ask you guys in a second if you've seen this show, but just to give people that aren't aware of it a bit of a heads up about what it was. It was Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, and these were the names of the three characters. Nigel Planer played a character called Ralph Filthy, who was a talent agent. Rich was, of course, Rik Mayall. He played the character of Richie Rich, who was an out-of-work light entertainment sort of TV personality actor type thing. I mean, the whole premise of the show was that he couldn't find work, and he was always trying to get work through his terrible agent, Ralph Filth. And Cat Flap, who was played by Adrian Edmondson, was a character of Edward Cat Flap. Now Richie and Eddie lived in a house together. Now this wasn't as run down a house as we saw in the Young Ones, or a run down apartment as we saw in Bottom. It was a fairly decent kind of place, but they lived together, and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap again only ran for 12 episodes, I believe, and it was billed as a follow up to the Young Ones, but I think that was based really on the fact that three of the characters were the same actors, but yeah. it wasn't a direct follow up to the Young Ones. Have either of you guys ever seen Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, I've tried to watch it several times, to be honest, as an adult, and I'll be honest, I can't get to grips with it. It's one of those shows. It falls into the same category as New Statesman for me. I really struggled to warm to it. Okay. So whilst I'm very aware of the show, I know it exists, and I have attempted it a few times. It's a show that I struggle with. So you'll probably be educating me on this one, Dave. I am aware of it, but I know very little about it, and I struggle to get on with it, if I'm honest. Okay,
yeah, I can understand that. It's not as immediate as the Young Ones or Bottom. It's a little bit. I mean, it's not particularly edgy. It just didn't quite tick enough of the boxes, I think, for the general audience, and I don't think it was received anywhere near as well as the Young Ones was. And I think it was a little bit of a damp squib for Rik and Aid, but I really like it. Nick, have you ever seen the show?
To be totally honest, I caught glimpses and clips of it this week going through the research. What I saw was funny, but maybe I just didn't feel I connected with it as much as the likes of the Young Ones and Bottom. Right. So apart from the few clips I've watched and the bits of research we've done and the few notes I've got, I'm I by no means could speak at any great length on this show.
No, me neither.
I am aware that it wasn't as popular as the young ones, but from what I understand, there is quite a cult following for this. There are some super fans of this.
Right.
And it's interesting you say about only 12 episodes again, because to go to slightly off topic but on topic, you could look at, you've got modern day comedians like Ricky Gervais who fully adopt that sort of that mantra of keep it short, keep it concise, get out. So it's interesting to see that because that was also very much a thing with, like, I think we mentioned Fawlty Towers earlier. Fawlty Towers was the same, with the same sort of block of things, and it just seems that the comedy greats all seem to know don't milk it too much.
Yeah.
So that's
I think Filthy Rich and Cat Flap was 12 episodes. You might be able to check that. I don't know if you're able to check that on the fly, Nick.
I can check that on the fly, mate. That's not a problem.
It certainly wasn't any more than 12. It might even have only been 6, but I think it was possibly 12. It's hard to remember now because I hadn't seen it in such a long time. But I remember when I was in the sixth form, we had there was a talent show. And myself and a couple of other students, we kind of rewrote some of the first episode of Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, and it was very, very much based on the first episode, which included the murder of a milkman, and actually reading movies, who's in the chat. He helped us with the scripting of some of that production that we did, and so I was a big fan of Filthy Rich and Cat Flap actually. Once I got into it, but it was purely again because of Rik. That was the only reason I watched it. But it certainly influenced my stage thing in the talent show that we did. And it was great fun to do.
So just to go back on what you asked, and just to go back on what you asked and bab me on my research, I genuinely thought this was 12 episodes. It wasn't. It was 6 episodes. So everything I just said.
Right.
So there you go. Research better. Although what I would say is, I said I didn't really connect and relate to it. I haven't watched enough of it, and it's certainly not going to put me off. I probably will go back and watch all of it. Because sometimes you need to watch a series in its entirety to get the true feel of it. Some shows are absolute growers, aren't they? You watch them, they don't sit with you, but they almost improve with time. And just to say thank you to VTR Dave there, who's so much quicker than me. See, I'm on the Richard Osman duties here. Doing the research, doing the research on the fly, but VTR Dave did actually come up far quicker than me with only 6 episodes. So I think we're gonna have to kidnap VTR and get him on every episode. He can be our Richard Osmond in the corner.
Dave will have a supercomputer, won't he? Like in his hand or something. He's a tech guy, isn't he?
Oh, 100%. And I just want to say a hello here to Craig, 1977 GB. Thank you.
Top guy, Craig.
Excellent. I love the avatar. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So nice. Anyway, back over to you, Monkey Boy.
So that was Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. I think the reason I got confused with there being 12 episodes, because I remember having 2 VHS tapes, and I guess there were 3 on each, not 6 on each. But
you obviously didn't have them on long play, Dave.
No, these were bought ones. These were
right.
bought ones. So I guess there were 3 episodes on each. But yes, I mean it obviously wasn't as popular as they had hoped. So they obviously got out after 6 episodes.
Well, I say, don't feel bad about getting that wrong, because I genuinely thought it was 12 episodes. But as I say, I haven't watched it, so I haven't
seen them for some time now.
But
but
no, I
I
will
still
go back
enjoyed
and
them.
watch it.
There's some good moments. I think it is worth persevering with them.
Yeah, I may have
Um,
to try and go back again and have a go, Dave. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So moving on from Filthy Rich and Catflap, I think the next one we've got is the New Statesman. Now you've just said, Luke, that you struggled to sort of get on board with the New Statesman.
Yeah, it
I
fell into the
certainly
same
did.
category, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, I struggled with this when I first saw it because I really don't do politics. I'm
No,
not
me neither,
interested in
really.
politics. I don't know anything about politics. And I
No.
didn't really appreciate the fact that that Rick was
Yeah.
sort of
Same.
poking fun at at a sort of stereotypical conservative MP.
No.
Um,
And
and
I think it was. I didn't associate Rik Mayall with this. You know, it was a character that I just did not. I kind of didn't want to see Rik Mayall doing this. You know.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's why I struggled right from the get go. Again, it might be something that I maybe should give another chance, but in my head, it's just not. It's just not for me.
I think I will give it a shot, but then again, I'm not really into my politics either. I think something political happened this week in the UK. I think
Yeah.
just to give you an idea. So I've caught a couple of clips of it. All I could think, and every shot I've seen of Rik Mayall here, he just looks like Tony Blair there. He just looks like Tony Blair.
It's actually a very well observed comedy, and I watched it purely because I was into Rik Mayall and I just couldn't get enough of seeing him on screen. It didn't grab me as much as the other shows have, but I watched it again a few years ago. I say a few, probably 10, 12 years ago, and it still
Yeah,
kind of
probably,
stood
Dave,
up,
yeah.
and it's very much of its time, but it still holds up, and the character that Rick plays, for a change, is not called Rick, Rich, or Richie. He plays a character called Alan Bastard, and he is, true to his name,
Yeah.
an absolute bastard. He's a real shit, and
Yeah, the name is good.
and it's quite funny just seeing how he kind of sort of oozes his way around the different politicians and tries to push his own agenda. The first episode, he's campaigning to arm the British police because he's got some kind of a back pocket payment to try and sell firearms to the British police force. So there's lots of stuff going on in this show.
So I'm not laughing at you. It's just a comment.
What's happened? Go on, bring it up.
That's right. First thing I'm going to say is VTR Dave says the New Statesman is more relevant now.
Very true.
Yeah.
And what I would say is what I did come across this week was the writers of the show were Lawrence Marks and Maurice Gran. And apparently Rick was very excited and pursued these guys to write this. This was something he was very passionate about doing.
Mm-hmm.
The comment that made me laugh is from Pete the Collector. He said, I'd like Nick to share his description of politics with you all. I'm not sure there's any way, Pete, that I can word it on here without getting this. I mean, I can try and explain my description of politics, but I'm not sure it would go down to.
It probably wouldn't take long, though, would it?
No, all right. Well, I'll say it. I basically said that with politics, when you vote, that you're voting for whatever happens, you're going to get. I'll put it this way: you're going to get screwed by whoever you get, but you're just voting for who you think's going to use the most Vaseline on you. That's my description of politics. I worded it I worded that a lot cleaner than I worded it to Pete.
I think there'd probably be a lot of people out there that probably agree with you anyway, Nick. Yeah.
So that's the politest way I could put that. When I said it to Pete the other day on the phone, it was a lot more crude than that, shall we say?
Yeah.
Which I know will shock all of you.
Well, I think I think that's a fairly accurate description of politics. I
Yeah,
don't really have
I
an
think
awful lot of time for politics. In fact,
no,
the
me
New
neither.
Statesman is really the only political type show I ever really watched, and it wasn't actually overly political. It was more about the character of Alan Bastard just being such a sleazy, oily dickhead. And I think it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch. But it has to be said that the New Statesman was very popular. Now, I won't say how many episodes there were because I'll get it wrong. But it certainly ran for a little while, and actually was very popular. Now, I believe it went out on ITV. I could be wrong about that. But
I'm not
it
sure
was it was
myself.
certainly a departure for Rik Mayall. And a departure again for the haircuts of Rik Mayall, which we haven't spoken about yet. But he's had different haircuts in every show that he's done, and some of them have been quite alarming. I didn't mention Richie Rich's haircut in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. You couldn't see it on the slide, but he's got a very obnoxious haircut. It's worth watching Filthy Rich and Cat Flap just for that horrible haircut. And of course,
I'll look out for it.
Yeah. But yes, in the New Statesman, he did play a very, very unlikable character. And I'm not sure that Rik Mayall has ever played a likable character. But we'll get onto that now, or shortly, because I've got some more questions here. Shall we? Do you want to talk about the next slide, Nick? Should we bring the next one up, because this is going to be quite a big one?
Yeah. There's no way of messaging you this on the fly, Monkeyboy, because I know you're coming in on your phone. Any chance you could turn your monitors down a little bit? You're feeding back a bit, sir.
I did wonder what that was, but I don't know what to do about it.
Just drop the volume on your phone if you can. If not, don't worry. We'll go with it because it's the punk rock nature of this show.
Well,
Sorry, I can't.
I've got my headphones in. I'm not sure what should I do. Should I turn the volume down?
On your phone, yeah, just a touch, mate. Just a touch, if you could.
Okay, let me try that.
So, everyone, yeah, here you go, guys. This is how we handle tech issues on the fly.
Sorry, Nick, is that any better? I've got it on the lowest one I can.
That's grand, man. Thank
Sorry,
you so
dude,
much.
I didn't know that. Apologies, everyone. You should have said something before, Nick. I didn't realise that anyone else could hear that, so I just went on with it.
To be fair with you, man, I've only just turned my monitors up a little bit because I couldn't hear, and then I can hear it, so it's not a big issue.
I can still hear some kind of a feedback, but I'm on the lowest volume I can be, so I don't think I can turn it down anymore. Otherwise, I won't hear you.
Then we shall just go with it in the nature of the young ones and punk rock and anti-establishment.
Sorry, everyone.
Sorry,
it seems we've got gremlins again.
That's all right. It's not an episode of Lame without gremlins, is it? We have to have gremlins. If we don't have gremlins, it's not lame.
I just wonder why it suddenly started to do that, because I mean I haven't done anything different, and I'm coming through my headphones, so there's. I know.
The internet hates us. Hey, man, do you know what? I'll take that over the gremlins of last show, Luke. I don't know if you caught us all, but the internet gremlins attacked our internet, both of us. We have Monkeyboy was stuttery. My camera went to hell. It was, oh my God, it was, and we had Scuba on and everything just went a bit mad. But it's fine. We get through it. We persevere.
It seemed fine when I jumped in, so it must have been afterwards.
It's when you're here, Luke, you bring the gold. But the next slide, which Monkeyboy has brought up, has asked me to bring up, is bottom. So
yeah, I mean this is the big one, I think, really, in terms of all of our experiences of Rik Mayall and Adrian Edmondson. Luke, do you want to give us some thoughts about bottom? Tell us a bit more about this.
Well, bottom. I mean, that came along when. So what was it? 91, bottom, 91. So this came when I was just sort of hitting my early teens. Obviously, I was at school.
91 to 95.
Right. Yeah. So I was just hitting my early teens. So I kind of felt I was just at an age now where all of a sudden just mindless violence more than anything else appealed to me as an head, because this is what we love on it. At that age, you just want to see, these characters beat each other up for absolutely no reason other than just a game of chess or whatever. And because I already had a pre-existing, sort of love and relationship for Rik and Aid, I felt that I could sort of relate to it, and quite possibly, and I don't know if Joe's still in the chat, but I don't know if he'll disagree with this, but I think I kind of loved it because at times me and Joe had this kind of love-hate, dysfunctional. I mean, we were brothers and they were, but we kind of had this love-hate sort of relationship, this kind of dysfunctional. So I don't know if I kind of related it a little bit to me and my brother, but I felt I was at an age now where I could appreciate it more. I was older than obviously when I was watching the young ones, and just these episodes, I thought they were so relatable. They fall out over a game of chess. Me and Joe would fall out over the silliest things, and it would just end up in a huge brawl on our bedroom floor, and then these guys are. So I think a lot of it, just this gross out slapstick, mindless violence. I absolutely love Bottom, and it is just, there's so many episodes. It's a bit like Young Ones again. I don't think there's an episode where, actually I say that, I'm not a huge fan of Series 3. I mean, it's good, but I think Series 1 and 2 were absolute gold. Every episode in Series 1 and 2 is very much like the Young Ones. No matter which episode you put in front of me, I say, this is a great episode. This is a great episode. I love it. Love Bottom, and it's just so relatable, and it reminds me of my school days, and we used to come home on a night and watch it, laying on our fronts. We were even sort of early teens, like I say, we were young kids, but lay on our fronts on the bedroom floor and watch Bottom on a night. And I think it was a Tuesday night or something. Love it. Absolutely. I just think it's brilliant.
Cool. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Nick, how do you feel about this show?
There's what can you say about Bottom other than, you absolutely 100%, if you haven't seen this show, need to go and watch this show. It's crazy, it's insane, it's vile, it's disgusting, it's violent, it's insane. I mean, someone said in an interview I saw about Rik Mayall that the TV producers felt that when the likes of Rik Mayall and Aid Edmondson came along, that the lunatics had taken over the asylum. And I think that sums this show up completely. It's bonkers. It's mad. I mean, they did an episode where they were trapped on a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
One set, static, the whole episode.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite episodes. It's just absolutely crazy. And that episode alone showcased the talent of Rik Mayall and Aid Edmondson, and how they didn't need massive props. They didn't need these really expensive, immaculately put together sets. They just needed each other, and they bounced off each other the whole episode. And the finale part of the episode, I'm not going to give you a spoiler for that if you haven't seen it, but it's just so brilliant how it ends. You think it was just two guys for what I think it was a 22 to 25 minute episode.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Dialogue between them is absolute. It's crude, it's rude, it's disgusting, but it's everything you want in comedy. That's what I have to say about this show.
I think some of the lines and some of the scripting, I mean, it's at times it's just so on the nose. It's just so, you sometimes sort of, I mean, I've watched episodes and I think, how did they come up with that line? What a brilliant, just what a brilliant line, or just some of the physical acting, or, I mean, the episode where, I think it might even be the last episode, I'm trying to get it right in my mind now, where they're trying to blackmail the Prime Minister, and the phone calls that they're making back and forth. I mean, some of it is just, where they're giving their names, and he says, "Oh, Eddie, you ring back," and he using an assumed name, and then he uses Richie's name, and it's just brilliant. And it's just so
we
good.
Want sandwiches. Yeah. They said no to sandwiches.
It's brilliant.
Biscuits or whatever they said. No.
I take your position on the sandwiches. What do you think about canapes? And it's just. It's just brilliant.
Brilliant. Brilliant stuff.
Everything about it is just insanity. Just a quick hello here to Dean. Hi, Chasing 80s Toys. Thank you for popping along this evening.
Hey, Chris.
Hello, man.
It's definite hello. Thank you for coming along, sir.
Nick, are we still getting the feedback? Is it still happening?
I can't hear any issues with your audio, Dave, when you speak. If I'm honest.
Well, I'll keep my ear out. If it happens again, I'll jump out and come back in and see if that helps. But I've got a question to you guys about Bottom. Do you think that they were heavily influenced by sort of vintage comedies such as the Three Stooges Laurel and Hardy? And do you think that they sort of brought slapstick back into the mainstream with this show?
Do you want to go, Nick?
6 million% yes. They took their influence. Their influences are vast, but they're in there. Yeah, the likes of Laurel and Hardy.
Nick, I'm still hearing some feedback. What can you two just talk for maybe 2 or 3 minutes about the slapstick and whether this was bringing it back into the mainstream or not? I'm going to hop out and then I'll come in again and see if it sorts the issue. Okay.
Okay, mate. No problem. No problemo. Do. Oh, still there. But no. Oh, hello. So it's you and me. So yeah. What was the question there? The influence they took. I definitely think there are comedic influences from shows that they watched growing up.
Yeah. Oh, I think. I mean, I don't remember huge 100%. Amounts of like Three Stooges and things like that, because obviously it was before my time. But when you actually think about the way they portrayed the sort of violence, now it's a lot lighter, but obviously it was comedy violence, very much like Bottom. But every episode, and I kind of, as what we have been sort of 12, 13, 14, I was just waiting for that flashpoint of when they're just going to fly into some huge fist fight over something and nothing. But the kind of the fights that they had, it was just these sort of rotating fist punches and I think the fight scenes themselves were just hilarious because the things they did to each other, you know. I mean the chess episode for me, where he like uses the umbrella and he sticks the umbrella and snaps it off, and then all of a sudden Eddie realizes the metal end of the umbrella's missing, you know, and things like that. I mean, I think Joe's put in the comments there. I'm still here, Mr. Bond. Yeah, I agree. We used to fall out. We could fall out over a game of pin the sausage on the fridge. Yeah. Yeah.
That's such a great thing. What was he says, pin the tail on a donkey. We haven't got a donkey. Pin the tail on the whatever. We haven't got a such and such. And then
and then what did it end up in the end? Put the piece of sellotape on the fridge. Not much of a game, is it? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Who won? Eddie, is not a matter of who won or lost, but how you play the game. Oh, you mean I won? He's like wheels away, doing like that. Shit, BD.
Oh dear, no, it's such a good show. Sorry,
brilliant. There are so many good parts.
Luke, I don't know if you can see it. I've just sent a message in the background for you, sir. But yeah, no, absolute fantastic parts. The influences there. I mean, there's a bit of Monty Python in there. There's a bit of everything. It's crazy, mad, insane. Everything about it is absolutely bananas, you know. And I mean,
some of the quotes that you can give for Bottom are amazing. I mean, the episode where Eddie goes out with their last remaining money, and he comes back with the copy parade, and then and then Rik says, "Hang on, £1.50 from £11.80 leaves £10.30, and you've only got 30." p. Where's the other tenner, you grasping little Fagin?
Oh, sod off, you stupid fat git.
I don't try and wriggle out of it by being all grown up.
Yeah, what's he say? Something like you spent £1.50 on the porn mag art pamphlet. Yeah.
That is beside the point.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, so good.
You've got episodes like
that's
when
weird.
they're in the
It's
pub.
fallen open at the exact page. Yes, well, I've been studying that page. Been studying it quite a lot, have you? Well, you've been alone in the house. How dare you accuse me of masturbating?
Yeah, I didn't. Yes, you did just then.
Who said anything about masturbating? You did just then. No, I didn't. I just said it's odd how it always falls open at that exact page. Yes, you did. And the reason you said that is because you know it's the picture I always look at when I'm having a
wangle. It's a medieval folk dance.
Absolutely brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's class.
Now, have either of you guys had the pleasure of seeing either any of the live bottom stage shows?
I've seen them all. Not live, but I've seen every single one. And Bottom Live 2 is hands down my favourite live one. I'm just going to say my favourite part from it now, and I don't care about the language. There's a bit where there's a parrot in it, and the parrot basically uses a line from Dirty Harry, like, because, you know, Eddie's got a gun, and he goes on about, Eddie's like, I bet you're wondering how many shots I fired, like, you know, quoting the Dirty Harry line, and the parrot goes 6, and then Eddie just opens up on him, bang, 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 and just goes, well, I fucking reloaded. And it's just, he shoots the shit out of the parrot. That scene, I can't quote it as good as it was, but excuse me, I've already sworn. That scene is hands down my favourite moment in all of the Bottom Lives. That bang, 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 and the parrot just gets obliterated. And it's just fucking gone every single time.
I like the Bottom Live stage shows, but I think they got progressively worse. If I'm honest, I really like the first one.
You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Did you ever see any of them live, Luke?
I did. We were very. I mean, I don't remember a huge amount about the Bottom Live shows, but we did. Me and my brother, we went to watch Bottom Live 3, Hooligans Island. So that would have been in 96, I think it was. And I remember that because we were 17. So we weren't really meant to be going, but we went with my cousin who was a few years older than us and a friend of his who was just slightly older again. And we went. I mean, we had tickets and everything. And we went to Bradford and we went to watch it at the Alhambra Theatre. And we went with tickets fully, you know, thinking, well, what we're going to do if we don't get in? Are they going to stop? Are they going to stop us and ask us to provide ID or anything? And we literally just sort of walked in, showed our tickets, stuck close to my cousin and his mate, and we just got in. So we went to watch Hooligans Island in at the Alhambra in Bradford, and we watched that live, and it was brilliant. Now, like you say, I agree. I think they probably got progressively. I don't like the word worse because that makes it sound like they weren't good. It was great to see, but maybe not quite as good as the ones previously. But I mean, personally, I love it when they break character and they talk to the audience, and you know, you just know full well at some point during the show, someone in the audience is going to shout and tell Richie to have a wank, and just you know. I mean, it was just brilliant to be there. I mean, at 17, you know, I mean, coupled with the fact that we knew we weren't really meant to be there, so it was even more exciting. Cause we're not meant to be here, you know. Brilliant, fantastic.
It's interesting that you went to the Bradford Alhambra to see the third one, because that's where I saw the second one. I went to Bradford Alhambra to see the second one. And an interesting, well, not particularly interesting, I guess, but a fact about the first show that I went to see. We went to see it live at Norwich, and sitting behind me was none other than Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh wow!
She was in the seat behind me.
That's cool. Wow, that's cool. Wow.
Yeah, and it was definitely her because No, I didn't. But I did get to accidentally brush up against her neck as you left the theatre. So I did get to accidentally, in inverted commas,
Cool.
brush up against
Well,
her. She's a very small lady. But
well,
I know it was
what
definitely her because we had a friend that was working at the theatre at the time, and would let us in backstage. So we went backstage
wow.
afterwards, and Helena Bonham Carter was there.
Oh, cool.
So it was definitely her, but she's tiny, absolutely tiny.
Okay. Well, one question I've got for you, Dave, on that is, what kind of blouse did she have on?
A smashing one.
I wouldn't have been able to resist if I was there. That's a smashing blouse you have on.
Excellent. Okay, so are there any more thoughts on Bottom, or should we move on? Because I'm conscious that we're at over an hour and a half now. So should we perhaps move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'm happy to move on.
We absolutely can. Let me just have a look. Just before we come off of Bottom, though, I just want to add that there were the stage shows, and whilst I would agree, the last as you say, I don't want to say they got progressively worse, but they did have their moment. They weren't as strong going forward. Hooligans Island was probably the last one that I really, really enjoyed. But right. I think it's important to say that they did do a feature film called Guest House Paradiso. Yeah. And Guest House Paradiso, they're playing the same characters, albeit with different second names, and they're running a really shitty hotel. It's like Faulty Towers, but 10 times worse. No, 100 times worse. It's Faulty Towers in the Bottom universe. And it didn't get the critical acclaim it deserved. Sod the critics, but I think that it's actually, having watched it back, I think it's aged really well, and it's a good send off for the Bottom guys. So, if you're going to watch the Bottom TV series and you're going to watch the live shows, please definitely check out Guest House Paradiso, because it's well worth a watch. And that's probably the last thing I'd say on the whole Bottom universe.
Mm-hmm.
But on to the next thing. A film which is so quotable, a film which I know Luke Reynolds and his brother Joe are absolutely mad on, and we had a ton of quotes from earlier on in the comments section. And if you're still there now, throw your quotes back in.
Well, I know this is a very popular movie with Luke and with yourself, Nick. From my point of view, all I'll say about this movie is, yes, I did enjoy it. I thought it was really good. My main takeaway was I was really upset at the end when he wasn't able to be friends with the Phoebe Cates character anymore, and he moved on to the next little girl, and I just found that really sad because I wanted them to stay friends. That was my main feeling. I was just very sad at the end of that film.
I can see that.
You guys talk a bit more about your experiences of this film.
The mega bitch.
I mean,
have you been doing it like the pigeons?
What can you say? I mean, there's just so. I remember watching this for the first time. My mum and dad had split up not too long before this was released, so we used to go to my dad's on a weekend, and we had a shop on just around the corner from where my dad lives. It's gone by various different names over the years. I think then it will have been called possibly a shop called Frank D's or possibly Late Shopper. But we'd lost most of our video shops at this point. I think we still had a few kicking around, but this shop had a video store inside the store, if that makes sense. So you used to be able to rent videos from it. And of course, because we love Rik Mayall, we rented Drop Dead Fred. And ever since we watched it in 1991, we have quoted lines, we have reenacted it. To this day, even today, at some point, I will have guaranteed quoted a Drop Dead Fred line at some point today. Guarantee it. To the point where me and my brother, we just disappear into, we'll say something and one of us will realise there's an opportunity to drop a Drop Dead Fred quote, and we do it. And I think that our partners, Rachel, I know Rachel has said to me sometimes when me and Joe are talking, that she's like, you almost speak a different language when you're talking to each other, because you can clearly see you both know what you're doing, but you're quoting lines, you're saying words, you're doing things. Drop Dead Fred for me, and I think at the time it didn't get a huge amount of love from the critics, but Drop Dead Fred for me is right up there. And in adulthood, obviously I've looked into it since, but I did remember thinking that growing up, how on earth did Rik Mayall get this role? This, he's gone from doing British sitcoms and things like that, and then all of a sudden he's in a Hollywood movie with Phoebe Cates, and at that point Phoebe Cates was big,
Yeah.
Well, it's quite an interesting
I love
tale,
this movie.
So,
yeah, well, I know. I mean, because Tim Burton was originally meant to direct it, wasn't he? And turned it down.
So.
And Robin Williams was originally meant to play Drop Dead Fred. Yeah,
that's correct. And that there were a couple of other characters who were slated for it. So Robin Williams couldn't do the film as it would have conflicted with the filming of Hook, which was obviously
I think he chose it, didn't he? Yeah,
yeah. And the another person who was considered, but they didn't feel was well known enough at the time, was actually Jim Carrey, to go back to the whole face acting thing I said earlier. And another surprising one, an actor I love because I think everyone who knows me and has watched previous shows, Tim Curry. Tim Curry was offered the role, but as research tells me, apparently one of the reasons he turned it down was because he didn't feel the character had enough development. Now, how much development a character like Drop Dead Fred can have, really,
or needs,
absolutely. I mean, there's watching this film back, there's so many genius moments in it. The little girl who plays the young
sorry
Elizabeth.
Nick, I'm reading Emma's comment in the chat. Sorry, I read that. Sorry. Because I can hear him doing it. Yeah.
Is it yucky dog poo or lovely dog poo?
It's lovely, yeah, it's lovely, but we don't matter. Yeah.
No. I just wondered because Emma made me question. Emma made me question myself. Either way, it does not matter.
Yeah.
But dog poo, lovely dog poo, all along the side, all along the chair, lovely smelly dog poo.
Yeah, it's the way when he wipes his foot over the arm of the chair, you see this huge clump come off, and it's awful.
it's just absolutely vile and disgusting.
Yeah.
And you got to think so, the young Elizabeth, the young actress who played the young Elizabeth was brilliant. But it's little genius things in it, like you notice when Fred is with young Elizabeth, he never refers to the mother as the mega bitch. It's always the mega beast.
Mega beast, yeah.
Yeah, and as she gets older, it's the mega bitch. The death breath. She killed me with the death breath. Be gone, evil one.
Can I say though to everyone in the chat after this, don't do it during, but do it after. If you haven't done it already, YouTube deleted scenes from Drop Dead Fred. It's brilliant, and I wish they'd have kept a lot of them in. Some of them are unreal, and there's one particular. I mean, again, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. I suppose we can swear, can't we? I suppose, but there's spoilers, I guess. Can you picture the scene where they're in the kitchen and he's just appeared and he's like, what you've just done there, Nick, the mega beast, the mega bitch, and he's like, "Be gone, evil one." Well, there's a deleted scene before that, and before he starts doing the death breath and all that lot, he just appears in the kitchen and shoves his face right up to Elizabeth's mum and just goes, "Eat shit and die." Like, and then they cut it. It's like, I watched that and I nearly died laughing because it was so unexpected. And there's an extension of the dog poo scene as well, where he's wiping the dog poo around, and there's an extension. Of that scene.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. The deleted scenes
dog
are
poo,
so
dog
good.
poo, lovely dog poo.
Yeah. It's I just had to. I don't know if you saw me there, but I wasn't being mean, Emma, but I just give you the V's. For getting the song wrong. Sorry, I know Emma well. But you think how hard the actress who played Elizabeth's mum had to keep a straight face to have Rik Mayall, I mean millimeters from your nose. And that scene, I mean, how good of an actress, however it's referred to these days, how good was she? That was absolutely brilliant. And it's like when they go to the psychologist, the child psychologist place, and there's all the other imaginary friends, and you're just like, I can't say it enough. It's
Yeah.
It's absolutely this film is so good, and when Fred's bouncing around, like when he's trapped in the Jack in the Box, and he tears out and he's smashing it. Gladiolis, it's when she's making the mud pie as a kid on the table.
Oh, there's so many good things in there. There's so many good things.
Which one of you dirty bastards taught her how to do it? And he's out there trying to smash the pigeons with a spade. And
it's just like, so good.
And I'm so glad he got this role, because Robin Williams is another comedic genius, who's also gone
you couldn't see
far too soon.
Now,
but I don't think Robin Williams could have. It would have been a completely different film. I'm sure it would have been an excellent performance and an excellent film, but I think this Rik Mayall, I mean, I know this film well enough that I know that the second picture there of just Rick's face is the scene where he's with the new child at the end, and they're doing like the pinky link.
His hair's different, isn't it?
Yeah, slightly different.
His hairstyle's different. Yeah.
I just want to also say a quick hello to Chasing 80s Toys.
Hey,
Ella, thank you for joining us. And Stu, the Universal Toy Collector. I have to say, I didn't say earlier.
All right, Stu.
Me and Stu had an accidental clash tonight. We both had a stream on at the same time. So if you were watching this one and you didn't get to see Stu's, when this is done, please go back and rewatch it, because it's a really cool subject. So
thanks for joining us, Stu. I hope your stream went well.
Thank you for joining us, Stu.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I hope it was a good one, man. And I fully intend to watch back afterwards.
Okay, right. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. No, just you either need to move us on, or me and Luke are going to start quoting at each other about Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah, I think we should move it on, because I'm just conscious of everybody's time, and we've still got a couple of things to discuss. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen any of the sort of one-off dark comedies that Rik Mayall did, called Rik Mayall Presents. Now, there were 6 of these shows. There were 2 series with three episodes in each series, and they were really a sort of a showcase for Rick's acting talents. Now, although they are dark comedies, he's not he doesn't have these sort of maniacal performances.
Sorry, I was chuckling at that. Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
I was just chuckling at my brother's comment. Sorry, I was trying to keep it together, Dave, but I couldn't.
It's a reference to Drop Dead Fred there, guy. Joe Reynolds says, guys, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to go. I've got an awful case of cornflakes disease. Anyway,
he's a wide-eyed loner. Sorry, Dave.
No, that's fine. So yeah, Rik Mayall Presents was a show that was a series that I watched when it came out, and because I was such a big Rik Mayall fan, and if anything, this made me even more of a fan of him, because it was evident from these 6 shows that he was a serious actor, and he had some serious range to what he was able to portray. On the left of the screen, we've got a shot of him playing a character called Mickey Love, who was an aging game show host, and on the right of the screen is the episode Dirty Old Town, where he played a homeless man living on the streets. All 6 episodes are absolutely brilliant. I know it's very difficult to get hold of the DVD because it's very expensive and there are not many of them about. I don't know if any of the Rik Mayall Presents are available on YouTube to watch. It's certainly worth having a look. If you can see any of these shows, I highly recommend them, because it really does showcase Rik Mayall's range and the fact that he was able to do some serious dramatic roles. Have either of you ever seen any of the Rik Mayall Presents?
I haven't, and once you mentioned them to me last night, I was very interested because I was interested to watch them because I have no doubts that Rik can act in a serious capacity, much like his partner in crime, Aid Edmondson, who equally has had serious roles. Talent is talent. But I looked on Amazon. I think I was speaking to you. I think we looked up to try and find the DVDs, and they were quite expensive for what they were. And I haven't seen them, but what I've read up on them and what you're explaining to me, it sounds like it's something which I definitely have to find to watch in some capacity, because
Yeah, they are very good.
I wouldn't mind. And Rik Mayall there on the right hand side doing his best impression of Adam Wood yet in EastEnders when Ian Beale was a tramp. So what more can you say?
Yeah. Luke, have you ever seen any of these ones?
Yeah, no. Well, it's funny actually, Dave, and you'll be able to tell me. I'm not entirely sure. Now, I have heard of this series, and to my knowledge, I've never seen any. However, a while ago, and I'm not even quite sure how I stumbled across it. I did stumble across something. I don't know if it was on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet. I did stumble across something with Rik Mayall in it, and the only reason why I watched it was because I saw on the thumbnail, I saw he was in it, and I've never seen it, obviously, before or since. But it was an episode of something, it may well have been this, where he plays, he seemed to have befriended two younger people, a boy and a girl, and it seemed to be based around conspiracy theories about 9/11. And he was talking to these two, these two people about how he felt there were certain abnormalities about the 9/11 events.
Okay.
I don't know if that is an episode of this and I've inadvertently seen it, or if this is completely something else.
No, that sounds like something else. Where did you see that?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to think, unless I just stumbled across it on YouTube. But I remember one particular scene. He's sat in a front room with like I say, this young girl, and when I say young, I mean they're maybe in their 30s, and he's talking to them about the events of 9/11. And he's talking about how he feels there was certain conspiracy theories about it, but specifically this particular scene that I remember, he was talking about the towers and how the planes went into them. And what he was saying was, and he had this, he had a Jenga set in front of him, and he had I think he had a plastic plane, and he said, have you ever thought about the Twin Towers and how they came down? And he had mimicking the Twin Towers, this Jenga set, and he got this plane and went like that into it. And the Jenga set always tipped over. Yeah. And he said, yeah, when the planes went into the Twin Towers, all of a sudden the Twin Towers just came straight down. And he said, yeah, every time, he said, they should have gone over. When the planes hit them, they should have gone, And it was interesting. I mean, it was obviously, and I just remember thinking, this is extremely not a Rik Mayall thing to be doing. Yeah, I watched it purely based on he was in it. And it was a really, really serious thing, a really serious program and serious acting.
Okay.
And it was all about, how he felt there was certain abnormalities and conspiracies about 9/11. And he was talking to these young people about it. So when you started talking about this, I thought, I wonder if I've inadvertently seen an episode of this without realizing it.
No.
I obviously haven't, right?
No, Rik Mayall Presents was done before then. I'm not sure exactly what year it started. The Rik Mayall Presents was first broadcast, but I believe it was before 9/11.
Ah, right, okay.
But no, I mean there are 6 episodes, and they're sort of kind of feature length. I mean they're sort of an hour and change. Sort of dark comedy dramas, and they're all very different from one another. But they're very good, and they're certainly worth looking at.
Right. Yeah, I will. I'll look for them.
Okay. Now, I'm conscious we're getting up to the 2-hour mark, so I think we should maybe think about wrapping this up fairly soon. But unfortunately, because of Rik Mayall's early departure, we're going to have to end on a bit of a sad note.
Yeah.
But before we talk about and mention Rik's unfortunate passing, maybe Nick, do you have any information about the accident that Rik suffered in the very late 90s? I think
I
it
do,
was.
yeah. Sorry, I'm just sliding down to my notes. Here we go. I have read these, but I will need to reference them. So in 1998, unfortunately, Rik had a really bad accident on a quad bike. He suffered really severe head injuries. And as a result of the head injuries, it's reported that he developed epilepsy. So he suffered with that thereafter in his career. It did hinder him, but he got back to work quite quick. But there's nothing amazing about the accident, but there is. Me and Carla were crying with laughter after this earlier because I had to show her this. So Rik Mayall, he's on camera after the accident, and he's talking to the person who's interviewing him, and he says, "Now you see, my kids call the day I had the accident," and I'm paraphrasing here, "Crap Thursday, because the next day was Good Friday, and I was technically dead for a few days, and then I came back to life on the Monday, and you know, I'm not the world's most modest guy, but I beat Jesus by 2 days." And I'm just like,
Brilliant.
It's just his sense of humor over it. I mean, that's not the exact quote, but that's the crux of it. And you're just like, fucking out. Sorry, you're just like flipping out. You know what I mean? You've had this horrific accident, and he's there. He's still being Rik Mayall, like, I beat Jesus, and you just think, oh my God. But unfortunately, this did hamper him for the rest of his life. And, you know, as with every story does unfortunately come to an end. And do you want me to take this section, Monkeyboy?
Well, it depends how our guest feels about the running time and how you guys feel about the running time. I did have a few more questions that we haven't got to, so we could just dip into those briefly and have a brief moment of levity before we get to the conclusion of the story, or we can wrap things up now.
I'm happy to carry on if Luke's happy to carry on. Whatever, Luke, you are the guest, sir, and there's no pressure for whatever you decide.
I'm not pressed. I'm okay.
Okay. Well, I've got a few more questions that we didn't get to, and I think, I mean, if we don't do it now, it's not going to happen. So if it's all right, we'll just sort of whiz through these if we can. They're a little bit deeper, the questions, but I think it might be worth just getting your thoughts on them. First one, it seems that Rik's ego was evident in all of his roles and characters, and was oftentimes very close to arrogance. Now, do you think that Rik nurtured this persona and leaned into it for the media, or do you think the attention seeking and attention grabbing was sort of inevitable as a result of a man in need of validation and acceptance? What do you think about this kind of arrogance that he portrayed on and off screen?
Sorry, go on, Nick. Sorry, mate. Go on.
Okay, if I was to jump in there first, I mean, Rik's been noted in several interviews saying that one of the things when he realised that he loved being the entertainer was apparently he was in a class, and there was a choir and they were singing, and the teacher went up to him and basically said, "Rik, you cannot sing. You are a terrible singer. You must not sing. So when we do this performance, I just want you to mouth the words. Just mouth the words. Do not sing." So Rik took that as, what I'll do then is I'm going to make stupid faces throughout. So I can't do much face movement, unfortunately, tonight. But he's there giving it all with the face movement. And he said the class erupted. The parents were laughing. People in the audience were laughing. And he said, "I like that. Oh, I like that. I want to, that's what I want to do." You know, and also it's worth noting that his dad was like an actor, taught drama as well. So he was from that sort of background. So from the youngest of ages, he was exposed to that sort of thespian lifestyle, and he realised that comedy got the laughs. And I don't actually fit. Everyone who spoke about Rik after he passed basically said he was the kindest, sweetest guy you could ever meet. So I believe this whole persona, this whole arrogance was something cooked up. I believe it may have been something of a shield, something to deflect the negativity and an armor so he could go forward and do what he had to do. Because when you think back to it, when the young ones came out, he was 24 years old. Look what he was doing at 24 years old. People were against it. People didn't, the establishment were not that keen on it. We mentioned Mary Whitehouse earlier, and he had to have that armor. And I think if he knew it made people laugh, it probably served two purposes. As I say, it's a suit of armor, and it's also the greatest weapon, because if people are laughing, they love you, and that leads to the validation thing. I didn't know Rik. None of us knew Rik. Perhaps there was an element of insecurity there. And that goes to something that Simon Pegg said in an interview for Guest House Paradiso. He said Rik was a perfectionist, and sometimes he would want to do a take again because the crew didn't snigger or didn't laugh. And Simon Pegg would say to him, look, Rik, it's because they're being professional. They don't want to ruin the shoot. But Rik always wanted to be the entertainer. So I think there was possibly an element of insecurity there, and that arrogance leads back to what I said about a suit of armor and something to protect himself, but also something which he knew got laughs and made people love him. So that's what I've got to say on it.
Yeah. What do you think, Luke? What do you think about his ego that he presented to the world?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think when does confidence become arrogance, or vice versa? I think the guy knew what he could do and was happy to tell the world that, I can do it. So a bit like what Nick's just said there, if he wanted to do another take if nobody laughed and nobody sniggered, because I don't know the guy, but I wouldn't be shocked if in his mind, if people don't laugh or snigger, then I haven't done it good enough. So I'll do it again. Because I can do it good enough, and I will do it good enough, and I'll keep going and I keep going until you laugh, because that's what I do. But I also like to think that when he was off camera, he also showed that persona. But I like to think when he was at home behind closed doors and with his family, I wouldn't be shocked if he was a very, very gentle soul. When he didn't have to do that anymore. Once he was out, and even if he was Rik Mayall in the public eye, but he was in the public eye, so it's act on. If that makes sense. When he's playing a role, he's Rik, or he's Richie, or he's whatever. But as soon as I'd like to think when he gets home and shuts the door, I think he probably changes quite a lot. But I think there's a line between confidence and arrogance and ego. I think he probably had all three when he was playing a role and he was in front of the camera. But there is just something just super appealing about him. Just massively appealing about the guy. I mean, even going back to things I forget about, the fact that he was the face of Nintendo at one point. Nintendo adverts. You forget all this stuff. Massive things that were massively relatable to us as kids. So, I'm sure it was a very, very, very deliberate thing. But I'm not sure he would have been like that behind closed doors. In fact, I'm almost certain he probably wouldn't have been.
I'd suspect he was a very sweet man behind closed doors.
Yeah, I think he probably was.
Just to jump in on some... Sorry, mate.
No, go on, man.
Something Greg Davis said, because obviously he starred with him. I always forget the bloody name of the show, and I've watched it. It was brilliant. What's the show? Thank you. Yes, that's it. Yeah. Greg Davis said, Rik Mayall was never backwards about telling you that he was the best. And he said, but the thing was with Rik, you don't mind people exuding they're the best and saying they're the best. When you take everything else away from that, the truth is he was the best.
Yeah.
And that was Greg Davis's take on it. And that was quite hard to watch, because watching that interview, I could see Greg Davis getting emotional. And then that gets you. And and everyone who spoke about Rik after he passed.
Yeah,
there's not a dry eye in the house, you know.
No, it's difficult because I remember. I mean, I struggled when I found out he'd passed, and like I said, it felt very personal to me. I've never met the guy, you know. It felt extremely personal. But I remember watching an interview with Ed Edmondson not long after it happened, and he was talking about it. And this isn't a quote because I can't remember the amount of years he quoted or he said when he was asked about it. But you could see Ed Edmondson in this interview was struggling to keep his emotions in check. And he said the worst bit about it all was we worked together for, he might have said 40 years, 30 years, I'm not sure. He said the worst part about it all was we worked together for 30, 40 years and we were together every day. And then the bastard goes and dies alone. And you just sort of like, you know, and you just think, yeah, he sort of passed without me is basically what he was saying. And you just think, yeah, that must be tough. You're one of your best pals or your best pal that you've worked with and probably seen almost every day for God knows how many years. And then, yeah, the one time you're not with him, you know, and I wouldn't be shocked if Ed Edmondson probably felt if only it had been a day when he was with me, when we were together, maybe, just maybe, you know. And I remember, and I'll always remember that interview and him saying that because you just think, yeah, you know, imagine spending the majority of your working life, personal life with this person, and then, you know, they're gone and you work there, and there's nothing you can do about it now. Yeah, difficult to watch, and just you know, and I'm a massive fan of obviously things like Star Wars, and we've had Carrie Fisher pass, you know, Peter Mayhew, Jeremy Bullock, you know, all these people that massively, you know, mean something to us, but nothing's quite hit a nerve, a heartstring as when I found out Rik Mayall had passed. And strange. You know, for people that we don't know, we never met, but they're a part of us. Yeah, it's strange.
I think there's.
I mean, we were talking there about, or Nick was speaking that about the fact that this might have been a suit of armor that Rik was wearing, this arrogance and this ego that he was wearing. I mean, it could be argued that many of. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye, Vic. Thank you for popping along.
It could be argued that a lot of Rik's characters shared very similar traits. The majority of them were insecure, childish, petulant, vindictive. Do you think these traits were expressions of Rik's true nature and a sign that he didn't want to grow up or conform to the expectations of society? Is that a bit heavy for a final question?
No, I don't think it's too heavy. But then is that I think look at how all us guys met. We met through the toy community, and we are all guys who collect nostalgic plastic crack that we just need to get to bring back moments of our childhood. And why do we collect? And I'm getting somewhere with this. Do any of us really want to grow up? Do any of us ever really want to grow up? Let's think about what we collect and what we do. And would it have been any different for Rik? I think there's an element of all of us that I know not everyone yearns back to their childhood, but in all childhoods, there's always happy moments, regardless of how the childhood was on the whole. And I think we all look back with nostalgia. And I think there probably was an element of Rik that didn't want to grow up, because growing up means you become one of them, man. You become one of the establishment. You become one of them, you know. So if you're always that student, you're always that up yours, the V's, you know. So I suspect there's something to that. I suspect he probably didn't want to grow up, and I suspect he nurtured that. So that's a long way around the houses to say that, but the reason I relate it to us because I suspect none of us truly want to grow up, and that's why we pursue our interests. I think we all, because if we truly become grown up, then, you know. Yeah.
Being grown up's pretty boring. Right.
It is pretty boring.
Do you think that kind of, he hobbled himself in a way? Do you think he hamstrung himself in that way? Because obviously, despite demonstrating that he did have quite a very decent range and was able to do all kinds of roles, do you think that because of being typecast, do you think he was creatively restricted in that way? Do you think he kind of painted himself into a corner?
I mean, maybe, but I think ultimately Rik Mayall probably did what he loved doing, which was making people laugh. And whilst I think absolutely 100%, he probably we knew that he could play a serious role. I don't think he wanted to play a serious role. And you know, I know he did do some, but I think the majority of the time he wanted to play a character that decided who was going to cook tea that night by having a custody pants contest, because that's what maybe he found funny, you know. It was one of them. Sorry, Nick,
I think there's always going to be an element of Rik that looked back to the young boy in the classroom making faces while the choir was singing, getting a thrill from those laughs. Yeah. So yes, did it paint him into a corner? Did it typecast him? Yeah, but I very few actors, very few comedy actors, very few actors of any. You can be an action star and get typecast. It's an occupational hazard of their trade. You know, if you're particularly brilliant at something, it's always going to be hard for people to see outside of that, and people are always going to want that for their thing. But Rik did obviously want to do serious stuff, and he knows he could do serious stuff. Look at those showcase things he did, those DVDs, those shows we spoke about a bit along. Yeah, you know, the Rik Mayall Presents. Rik knew he could do it. People knew he could do it. And I think ultimately his whole aim, I think everything for him was, I think the laughter from the audience, the crew in attendance while filming, his peers around him, I think that was, I'm no psychologist, but I suspect there was part of that which Rik craved and yearned, going back on what we said earlier. And I think that's what he loved. And I think if Rik was here today and you said to him, would you change anything? Look, I don't know, but my gamble would be on he'd say not a damn thing.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd probably agree with that.
I know you guys came up with the topic for tonight's discussion, and I just want to thank you both for that, because it's been really good to be able to talk about Rik. When I first came across Rik in TV, I didn't imagine that I would be in the very proud position and also the very sad position of having to almost give this testament to such a great actor that's been taken from us all too soon. And it's been a real privilege to be able to talk about him, and I feel in a way humbled and very, very proud that I've been able to talk about his life and his career. And it's been great sharing these thoughts and these memories with both of you.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, Dave. Couldn't have said it better. I mean, you know, I love what we do now and the hobby that we do, but I think sometimes it's easy to forget that there are other things. We've all met through our love of toy collecting and things like that. But I think it's quite easy to forget that there are so many other things that we all love that we maybe don't know about each other. So, you know, when we came up with this topic, and I just thought, you know, 2 hours of talking about this guy that I have grown up loving his work, you know, just as a character, and how it's just sort of shaped a lot of who I am in a weird sort of way. I mean, you know, I still quote Young One's bottom, Drop Dead Fred, even now my sort of my soon to be 9-year-old niece and my I'm trying to make sure I'm getting the ages right here, and my 12-year-old 11-year-old nephew, they're quoting Drop Dead Fred now, you know. And it's so strange to feel really proud that I want my niece and nephew to love what I love. I want them to know who this guy was, and they've watched Drop Dead Fred and they love it. And there's something quite special about feeling that I hope my niece and nephew grow up loving this guy that I love and knowing who he is, even though he, you know, he's gone before, you know, my niece was born, and my nephew was like 1. Yeah, there's something quite special about that. I love Rik Mayall, and I've had a blast, guys. It's been fantastic. The 2 hours has shot by.
Oh, well, thanks for your memories, and thanks for sort of contributing to the discussion. It's been really good.
Not at all. Been a pleasure.
I just want to add that you know, it's important to say, I think it's important to say that, you know, Rik did leave us on the 9th of June, 2014. He sadly had a heart attack.
Years.
It's been 10 years. He sadly had a heart attack after a morning run. And just to go back on something else, the bit that actually got me when I watched it and I heard it back to, you know, there's you're never going to get away from Rik without aid. And Luke referenced a quote he'd heard, but I just wanted to bring this up because this was heartbreaking for me to read and hear when it came out. But this was from Abe Edmondson. This was his, like, you know, official statement on the death of Rik. Aid said, "There were times when Rik and I seemed to be one person. We were joined at the hip for many years, and every night spent in his company was filled with laughter. He was a true loyal friend, and I shall miss him terribly. He's died for real without me. Selfish bastard."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah.
Brilliant.
What a guy, what a legend. And unfortunately, all stories do come to an end, and this story does come to a tragic end. But I think for all of us that love Rik and all of us who love his stuff, one thing he gifted us with is amazing memories and a body of work which is so expansive and so enjoyable and so rewatchable. So go and watch his stuff, you bastards.
Yes, go and watch
go
it.
And enjoy
go and
it.
watch it. Yeah,
go
absolutely.
And enjoy it. Let's just say this is probably the longest we've run on a show, but I said to Monkeyboy that there's no way we're getting away with an hour and a half on this one because it's just such a big subject. And I want to thank absolutely everybody in the chat.
Absolutely.
You've all been brilliant tonight.
Yeah,
everyone's contributed. Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for showing up, everyone. Really appreciate it.
You've been amazing. Links for Luke's channel, Reynolds Reviews, can be found in the description of this live stream. Luke, is there anything coming up you want to plug at all? It's your moment, sir.
Oh, well, I don't know, because if I plug anything, then you'll all know what's coming. But let me think. What have I got coming? Is it next weekend, isn't it? There might be something pretty excellent in a couple of Sundays' time. That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting.
Okay.
That'll do for me. Yeah. And just to say again, links to Luke's channel are in the description of this live stream.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for that.
Check out Reynolds Reviews. I love his stuff.
Thank you.
We all love Luke.
Very kind. Very kind of you.
No, it's just the truth. Monkeyboy's channel is also, both his channels, Monkeyboys Toys and Skeletor's channel, Skeletor, are also linked in the description of this. Monkeyboy, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up, or anything you'd like to promote, sir?
No, not really. I mean, just check out the links in the description. Everyone, go and check out Luke's channel. He's got some great content on there. Lots of toys. I know. Just a quick observation, Luke. You did say several months ago that you were going to stop collecting new toy lines, and since then we've had A-Team, we've had Sectors, we've had Terrorhawks. Now we've got
Batman,
Toy Biz Batman.
Correct.
What are you playing at?
I'm playing it. There's about 4 more yet that you aren't. Yeah, there's more coming. Yeah, I don't know.
Stop selling the stuff stop selling the other stuff, because idiots like me buy it, because now I'm into collecting another line because of you.
Yeah, there's about there is about another 4 other lines to come that are new. I don't know what's happening at this point. I don't know what I'm doing, but
just quickly before we go, there's someone down here that just has got a question for you, Luke. And he's been nudging me for the past 5 minutes. It's Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Robert's just got a quick question for you, if that's all right. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, go on, Robert. You can ask your question. Go on, ask him. Ask him.
You're welcome on the channel anytime, Robert. I've said that to you, but I saw what happened on Stu's channel, and I mean, it's family friendly. I can't have that, mate. So you need to sort your behaviour out if you want to come on the channel.
All right, Robert, go on. Off you go, mate.
All right,
Yeah.
right, you. Stu is still banging on. I just want to also say a quick hello to Paul Knapp, who's popped in this evening.
Hey, Paul.
Thank you for coming along, sir.
Hey, Paul.
This evening has been a chat that I've absolutely loved. I've already said the chat has been brilliant. Luke, you've been an absolute pleasure to have on the channel. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Pleasure, lads. No,
Thanks for
Thank you
coming on,
for all
man.
your
It's
hard
been really good. Thank you, man.
No,
Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, lads. Obviously, when you asked me, there was no way I was ever not going to come on, and I just want to say it's been 2 hours of just brilliant, out of absolute blast. You know, you run the stream brilliantly. You know, you sort of steer it excellently. You know, it's really well put together. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh well, it'd be great to have you back on another time, man.
Anytime.
I'm not going to promise when you can come back on because we know I'll get that wrong. Couple of housekeeping things. Next week, I have got a live stream with Kat Vader's Girl, and it's all about Godzilla. It will be about the same time next week, 10 p.m. GMT. I am by no means a Godzilla expert, but Kat absolutely is. So it's gonna be an interesting discussion. I'm gonna learn things, and Kat's gonna share her passion of the subject. And I just want to say again, in the comment section, you can follow these guys. Comment section in the video description, you can follow these guys. Check out their channel links, but please do check out that documentary, Rik Mayall, Lord of Misrule, because
I'm going to watch that.
It's a great overview, and I don't think there's much more to say other than everyone, you've been great, and I think it's time to do the awkward wave while the stream finishes thing that we all do. So everybody. Oh, jeez, man. And I'm going to press end stream. Bye.
That one's for Rick. That was for Rick.
That one.